Now, the fate of suspended Gauteng Health MEC Bandile Masuku, his wife Loyiso, and presidential spokesperson Khusela Diko is still uncertain. A decision on the three was expected this week, but the ANC in Gauteng says it's unable to decide if they should be sanctioned over COVID-19 tenders, as the Special Investigating Unit has not yet completed its investigation. Well, let's discuss this now with a political analyst from UNISA, Lesiba Teffo. Good evening. Thank you very much for your time. The ANC in Gauteng is saying they can't decide this matter as a party until they hear from the SIU if there's actually something to answer. Is that a fair and satisfactory response?
That's exactly where it should have started.
Yeah.
See, let's be fair with each other here. The conflation of party and state, the blurring of lines between party and state, and the deployment and rather than the appointment of public officials, that's the source of the confusion. Because it is the employer and not the party that can pronounce on labor matters. It's the contract between the employer and the employee. And the political bit will always be subject to political games. And as is right now, whatever they can do, if the people want to challenge them in terms of Labor Relations Act, they would still win.
So surely it's up to Khusela Diko's boss, which is the president, and up to the Gauteng Health MEC's boss, which is the premier, to make a call on whether they should step aside permanently. Or do you think that one should just keep it as it is, let the criminal investigation go ahead? I mean, it's just, as you say, this conflation is very, very confusing, and the ANC is looking at it from a different perspective, from a party perspective. It's surely not their call. Isn't it the call of the Premier and the President?
It's the call of the Mayor, it's the call of the Premier and the call of the President. And the confusion emanates from the fact that people are deployed and not appointed. And okay, we can extend the argument. Had the ruling party upheld the document, the one that I respect most, the seminal document, through the eye of the needle, there would be no problem. In fact, the people would automatically step down because they would realize that they have not lived up to the commitment made, read the document.
When you say...
So,
sorry, carry on, yes?
Yes, as is. It's not only about Masuku, by the way. It's about the deployees of the ruling party. All of them, they can challenge them. And in the Northwest, we hear about that. You talk about Madam Gumede in Natal. At least in relation to the man in Buffalo City, at least the legal course, the legal route took its course. But it was problematic, and it was bound to be problematic. Maybe step aside and allow legal due process to take its course. And thereafter, then they can invoke whatever ethical code that they have to say, based on this, step aside. The second point, in fact, there are men and women who constitute and comprise the integrity committee. They've done a sterling work. They've served their country with distinction. I have immense respect for them. But for them, in the twilight of their life, to be subjected to these political games, I would rather say maybe time to end. Because the outcomes of the integrity commissions are nothing but recommendations subject to political gamemanship.
Yeah, well, this is the other thing. As you say, it makes a little bit of a mockery of what the Integrity Commission is doing. If at the end of it they go, well, we've got to wait for the SIU anyway, what is the point of having an Integrity Commission? Do you think the ANC is serious about giving them teeth?
Well, they could. But for me, the depth of the rod runs so deep that I can't see whoever they put there. Because there are mechanisms in place. The factions are so crystallized, so strong, that I don't see them coming up with anybody or any structure strong enough to reconcile them or to get them united. The glue that once held them together really has lost its strength. And if I were to use my regular statement, the ANC cannot save itself from itself. As somebody said, in the name of the former head of state, by the way, President Motlanthe, maybe it's time the ANC loses power. After 5 years come back, it shall have cleansed itself and the right people will remain. But to that also to be achieved, you will have to do away with the tender system. You will have to do away with cadre deployment. Indeed, you will have to come up with a new electoral act whereby people are accountable to the electorate and not to the party. And to this end, it's not about the ANC. It's about the people of South Africa taking cognizance of the fact that if there has to be change, they must be the agents of change.
You're saying it's up to the mayor, that's in the case of Loyiso Masuku, it's up to the premier in the case of Bandile Masuku, it's up to the president in the case of Khusela Diko to make those decisions. Do you think there's a case to be made to say, even without the SIU, even without the criminal probe, you have done enough damage to the ANC that actually you should leave? No suspension on pay while we wait. You should just go, because that's what happens in other places, doesn't it?
No, you see, that sentiment was expressed in Polokwane. That sentiment was expressed in Bloemfontein. That sentiment was expressed or reaffirmed at Nasrec. There is enough documentation to that end. They don't need everybody, especially a person like me, to remind them. That's exactly what they agreed upon. But because of the factions and because of pecuniary interest in relation to which faction one belongs, in relation to the person I support and what I can get out of that, that's what bedevils the situation. I therefore agree with also what Mandashe once said. The wrong people have been attracted into this glorious movement, and maybe that we must find a way to cleanse the glorious movement. The documents are there. The documents are there. It's just the human factor that they have to deal with.
Not an easy process. And thank you so much for your views this evening, political analyst from UNISA, Lesiba Teffo.